Okay, and we are back live coding with Lunar Rescue. And just coming on for a little bit here, thought I would just maybe put the finishing touches to this attract mode. But also, I might just show a little bit about the timers, right? So this thing here, these sort of constants here, what I was thinking of doing was sort of setting up some constants so that I can, so let's say, well, basically what I want to do is set up a constant, and then I can have the timers set so that they are added to the constant, so that I can, well, basically instead of defining them all here, they're all relative. I can just set them up and then edit them more easily. I'm not sure if I necessarily really need to do that or not, but it was an idea anyway. Or, well, maybe I don't need to do it. What I think I'll do is just make sure I've got comments in clearly and that everything's annotated. That's a good way of doing it as well. So okay, now the time is no longer running at tenths of a second. It's running at, I guess, well, it's every 8 cycles. So 50 hertz at 8 cycles. Okay, so okay, press 5 to start there. Just wondering if I can work something out, because to be honest, what I'm thinking here really is just about making it more practical for future use if I use it in another game and things like that. So for example, press fire to start, right? So it's about 18 characters and takes about 15 cycles to display. And I just wonder if I can set it to be like just the length of the text would be enough to make it show you what I mean, right? So find the text where it's weird. Where is that? Okay. So it's on 2 rows, so that's not ideal. I mean, I could estimate it. I suppose I can just think in my head that it is roughly, the number of letters that we're displaying is roughly the time it takes to display them. in cycles, because obviously it's displaying one letter each cycle, isn't it? So yeah, okay. Someone's popped in, whoever you are, hello. Please make yourself known. Don't just lurk. Okay, so yeah. What I want to do here is just tidy up this attract mode. And just check the timings. So we've got this loop. Essentially, we've got this loop, right? I tell you what I'll do. I'll put the, I'll run the game and I'll just talk over the top. So, okay. Okay, so ignoring this little routine, it starts out here. And after 20 cycles, it starts printing. And it's updating it every 8 cycles, right? So we've got 2 clocks. So obviously it does this routine first, and that takes about 18, well, 18. Clock 1 is running at normal 50 frames a second. Clock 2 is running at an eighth of that, right? So I guess it's about, what's that, 50 over 8? It's about 6.5, isn't it? So yeah, 6 1/3 maybe. Anyway, if I want to know the timings, if I just want to adjust them, you see, so that one there is okay. Just check that I'm pause, unpause. Okay. Yeah, you see how this character's talking a bit too long for that, so I'm going to have to figure out where that is. So here is press R to redefine. It's at around 60, 61 until 90. But that's clock 2, the slower clock. But the mouth update, let's just see here. Hello, Steve. Welcome. I think I saw you put a comment on my YouTube. That was you, wasn't it? You got a little channel of your own going? And popped in yesterday when we were playing Star Trek. So, yeah. Nice to meet you, mate. Are you in the UK? I'm guessing that you are. I live in Central Asia, in Kazakhstan, believe it or not. But I'm actually from the northwest myself, so yes. Originally I was born in Barrow-in-Furness, which is like Blackpool without the amusements or the tower. And more rain and heroin, I think. that's, that's a bit harsh. More nuclear submarines, yeah. Anyway, I haven't been back for a few years, but anyway, yeah. So I'm just working. Just curious if you know anything about coding at all, or are you just like games and you're curious to see behind the curtain a little bit, maybe? Yeah? Funnily enough, my mum actually lives in just near Morecambe, a place called Hess Bank, which is even more like Blackpool without the tower. And yeah, I was there in November actually. I see. Well, I try to talk through this stuff for the layman's ear, if you like. So, you know, basically, when you're running games like this, you're always just coding lots of different loops. And right now, we've got this attract screen, which doesn't really, it's nothing really to do with the game, of course, but I mean, it's not playable, but it adds a lot of atmosphere, and I'm a big fan of making sure that games have immersion, so people to feel like they're playing an actual arcade game on the Spectrum, then you need to sort of recreate that feel, if you like. But when we did this, just ginger tea I'm drinking, nothing stronger than that. But when I did this, I had to adjust the timers a bit, and it was a bit of a bodge job. So I just wanted it working. It got really late, and I just wanted it working. It does more or less, but I'm just trying to add some annotation to this here. So I think that is stop. No. Okay, so the mouth animation sort of kicks in at 20, and then it stops 80, is that right? No, I see. It stops at 32. Yeah, that makes sense because that one's 35. And then it stops at. Why would it stop at. Odd. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Okay, so if it's stopping at 80, well, it's continuing after 80. I'm not sure. We'll try it. I'm hoping for the best here. I just want to tidy it up a little bit. So the mouth of the alien, you see, it's timed to go with the text, right? So that's kind of okay. But this one, see how he's talking for a while after? I want to stop him doing that. So this is my own code and I can't remember how I did it. Um, should add some notes here, first of all. So the mouth stops moving when it hits a space character. Space character, yes, so don't do it, otherwise move the mouth, right, okay. So compare with 90 and jump if there's no carry. That means if it's greater than 90. Right, okay, so then I should probably put it at about 70 then. Let's see if that works. It's probably better, isn't it? Let's see. Yes, well, I don't know, talking about versions of Lunar Rescue, indeed. Well, I'm a big fan of the golden age of arcade games, right? So up to about, I guess, 84, 85, maybe at the most. And the Spectrum is quite capable. It's quite a capable machine when it comes to running games of that era. But by the time that people kind of figured out the Spectrum, really how to code it well, which is sort of 1984 to 85, um, those games were already out of date and not many people wanted to play them. So you'll find versions of the early classics, the sort of early 80s, late 70s, early 80s games, will have been written in the very early period of the Spectrum's life, right? 82, maybe even maybe 83. Sometimes aimed at 16K as well. So not inexperienced coders in a rush to get them out quickly, memory limitations, and so on. So you just get kind of fairly crappy versions, right? So my kind of thing that I like to do is go back and create better ones, if you like. You know, I've done that with Asteroids, and done a version of Joust as well, right? Although Joust, I actually did it in AGD because I didn't know assembly at the time. I would certainly do a lot of things differently with that game now if I did it again, but it plays a pretty good version, it plays a pretty good game of Joust, so I guess it's all right. Anyway, yeah, there are. I think I watched. I'm a friend of Paul Jenkinson from the Spectrum show. I've been on the show. Oh, well, probably a dozen times, maybe. I'm not sure, but he's also a big fan of these games, and we had a chat about that. And he kind of reviews versions of games on the Spectrum, right? And there's classic arcade games. There are tons of them, right? There's tons of Froggers, there's tons of Centipedes, there's tons of Pac-Mans, you know, and all that. Um, yeah, and well, I'll answer that in just a second. Just to finish. And they're all rubbish, right? They're all fairly rubbish. He tries to find the best one, and usually the best one isn't even all that great. So um, I quite like though to go through and see how bad they were, and then think about writing a better version. And I saw him review Lunar Rescue, and there is one or two versions, and none of them are that great. And of course, the game itself really looks like a Spectrum game. You know, it's got the same color palette, it's got the same resolution, more or less, and so you can really create a pretty nice version that's very arcade accurate, I think, with a bit of time and experience. So, yeah. Um, yeah, just regarding arcades. Well, I think most people, well, it depends on your age, doesn't it? But if you're a Spectrum fan, then you're probably a certain age. I certainly don't know too many of them who are under about 45 or so. Um, which means, you know, child of the 80s, early 80s to mid, teenager in the 80s, basically, right? So, um, and so you love the arcades when you were a teenager, don't you? So that's pretty much what it is when you had a bit of spare time and whatever. I mean, I love games full stop. You know, I play everything from the old to the fairly new. Um, I have an Xbox One. I don't have a the next generation, but I play that a lot more than I do any sort of earlier consoles. But yeah, I love coding on the old machines. It's just a really good challenge, you know, and the games are not too massively complicated. They were coded often by one person at the time, so you can get into that mindset of that and just really enjoy it, you know. And these games, it's fun to kind of think about what the coders at the time were thinking about too. So it's like a double challenge, really. Let's see if his press fire to play. That's okay. And press R to redefine. I guess that was all right. Did it? It was a little bit. But yeah, so I'm not massively nostalgic, you know. I just like games generally. But having having said that, that feeling of walking into an arcade. I mean, obviously, if you grew up in Blackpool, then you were spoiled for choice, weren't you? Really. Um, but yeah, just walking in and just the sounds, you know, and all the feeling that you got. Just wander around and explore sort of endless machines with all kinds of different games on. It's just fantastic, wasn't it? Really. And of course, people do have arcades now, but at the time, they were everything was just cutting edge. You know, everything was the latest thing. No one had ever seen it before, and that, to me, is a lot more exciting than nostalgia, right? Because it's all you've all seen it. You've seen it all before, really, haven't you? But anyway, let me just see. I just want to look at the timing on this again. Okay, press R to redefine. Yeah, that's all right. That'll do. Okay. Now, is there anything else that needs fixing? Ah, yeah, I wanted to write free play at the bottom. So I was going to have a little mode where you could add credits. There's a couple of other people here. You know, pipe up if you want to say hello. It's always, you know, that's why I'm doing it live. I might as well be on my own if we don't pipe up. But you can lurk if you want. I'm not forcing you. Anyway, yeah, I was going to have a little thing that said credits and press a button to put the credits in and stuff. Again, just for fun and immersion. But I figured that I don't know. I'm still in two minds about it. When I abandoned the idea simply because the screen layout wasn't going to allow it. But then I've updated the way that the text works now, so technically it could be done. But well, it's an easy thing to go back. You know, when you're coding these things, you just kind of sometimes you just sit and stare at the screen, figure out what you want to do, and it'll be some really small detail that you don't really need to stress over at that point. But anyway. Yeah, well, I had an earlier version where there was a credit. Um, and the thing is, once you put the credits in, it goes press 1 or 2 player. You know, it's like it's ready to play. But it kind of messes with the redefined keys and 1 or 2 players and different things like that. So, but I'm not ruling it out completely. It might put an appearance in, but if I want to just put free play somewhere, then I can. I've got this kind of system now that allows me to do it fairly easily. Here, where it prints score, fuel, high, Taito, core, and everything there, I can just add a new line to this. Put free play, and choose where we want to put it, and I think we'll put it. Put it at the bottom. Yeah. Okay. So we'll go. Try 723. Play. And the reason we add a 128, that's just setting a bit as a terminator there so that it knows that it's reached the end of the text. Oh, and I can set the color as well if I want. And I guess we're going to set it for... Okay, well, let's see what color it is. Let's see if we like the color, because there's like an overlay on it. Right? So maybe the color's all right. And if not, we can change it. Okay. Yeah, I think that color's okay because it kind of ties in with that. I'll just move it across. I think maybe two chars across. It's amazing, isn't it, though, right? How the a font can really define an atmosphere somehow, right? Just purely a font. Like you see the word free play there, and it does give me like kind of like almost like, oh, is this game's free? Because it feels like an arcade. I know that just sounds daft, right? But yeah, I just love this font. I think it is just so so symbolic of that period, you know. I mean, I love the later font, you know, that you got with the one that you have with, say, Scramble, Gallagher, Donkey Kong, all of those. That's also iconic. But I think this is the Space Invaders font, isn't it? And it's the original first proper kind of arcade font. Anyway, free play, that sounds fine. I think that'll be all right. It still has an arcade feel, doesn't it? Okay, so I think that's all right then. Oh well, perhaps, I don't know. Perhaps I'll do a print the score, or perhaps I'll make a start on the graphics. It's a shame that Mitsuyama's not here actually, because he's been following this one pretty avidly. Anyway, he can catch it up later. I think that's all right though. Okay, so I'm gonna start thinking about actually starting the game, right? So I'm not going to do the redefine keys loop, or for now. I'm going to just have press fire to play, right? So right now nothing happens. I'm going to have to check this keyboard routine and see how it goes. Okay, so right, we've got a key check loop here. And let's see, so we're in game mode, game state here. Yeah, so we might as well check the keys here and see what happens. Load A. I think it's key set. Let me just check. Yeah, so I use a single byte to detect the keyboard, and I guess what I should do is go to should have my asteroids game here. I'm gonna nick some code from it. Let's see. Check if Kempston is connected. Right, so that will do. We'll take that code from there and we'll just borrow it. Okay. So just here. So what will happen is that when the game boots, it's going to run this routine once only when it boots up. And once it's checked for the Kempston, it'll know the Kempston's connected. And if the Kempston's connected, then it will check for the Kempston. And so if you press fire, it will know that basically what I want to avoid, ideally, is having to choose Kempston or keyboard or whatever. I like the idea that you just press fire, you know, press space, there you go, your keyboard, press fire on the Kempston, you must want Kempston, right? Redefine keys if you want to use Sinclair. So it's all pretty easy, isn't it? Most people use Kempston, don't they, in modern, because they've got like SD card devices that give you a Kempston joystick and stuff. So I think it's still very prevalent. But maybe if you've got a +2 or 3, you might have something different. But anyway, check for Kempston, and we'll put variable in here, Kempston connected. If I haven't already, maybe I've already done that. To check. Yes, I have already done it, so we don't need that. Okay, so all right, key check here. Probably going to have to run through this code because I have not checked it properly. Just reading the Spectrum keyboard. Oh, really? Someone's done a book on arcade fonts. Yeah. Just spill my drink. Well, I suppose if off the top of my head, let me think of like the fonts that I would say are very memorable. Obviously, I've mentioned those two. Those are really classic. The other another two that immediately spring to mind would be the Ghosts and Goblins one, right? For sure. And Capcom Final Fight. That's got a really iconic design. And I guess Street Fighter has as well. I'm trying to think of any others that might immediately spring to mind. I'm not sure. Well, obviously you could the Joust, of course, has a really good font as well, and some of those early Williams games, you know, that sort of Robotron font, that's really cool as well. Anyway, those would be my immediate choices, but yeah, almost tempting me to just have a look. Why not? Classic arcade fonts, right? What does it come up with? Nothing really is coming out here. Well, I guess Pac-Man, of course, it's got that. I mean, it's not in the game, is it? Thinking about the fonts that are actually in the game itself, rather than the I think Sinistar has a nice font as well, doesn't it? If I remember rightly. Yeah, it does, yeah. I may well get around to converting Sinistar to the Spectrum as well someday. You never know. But yeah, I would add that one as well. Oh, it's a shame that there's been a book, because I would have done a book myself. It's quite a good idea. Yeah, classic. Anyway, fonts do add something, don't they? I was thinking about coding this for 16K. I don't know if I'm going to be able to, because I really want it to be the best version that it can be, and I don't think the 16K could be the best version of it. Anyway, let me see. So I'm calling key check. Call key check, and let's see, what are we doing here? Game initialization, skip startup. Right, skips that, and then we're into here, load a key set. Okay, and I guess for now I could just rotate it. I can't remember which bit I had set for fire. So you know what? Let's just do this. Right. Okay. Just going to do a test that the keyboard routine is working, right? So if the keyboard routine is working, I'm going to do something with the border. Like that. In fact, I probably don't even need to, well, it's not a bad idea. I'm just going to do that actually, because that'll change the border according to the keys that are being pressed, and we'll see what's currently running. Let's have a go, if anything. Arcade game typography. And is it the in-game fonts, or is it the arcade artwork as well? I guess it probably is, right? The artwork as well. I mean, if you're going to do a book, then you'd want to do both, wouldn't you? Well, I hope this font is in there, because for me that is really one of the really iconic ones. I'm going to turn that little attract screen off. Let me see. Right, look, see I'm getting a 1 when I'm pressing P, and I'm getting a 1, which is border blue, right? So that's good. And I'm getting a red when I'm pressing left, which is good. That means I'm getting that's 2, right? And if I press them together, I should get a magenta, and I do, right? That's good. And then if I press, what else am I getting? Yeah, I've got a green, which is up, and I'm not getting a fire. But of course, you only need 3 keys, so I've got O, P, and Q for the currently defined keys. There aren't any other keys that you need really for this game, unless I have something for like changing the colors or the palette or something. But good news is the keyboard routine works. Okay, so fire, like bit 0, bit 1, bit 2. Okay, so I always forget this. So if we go bit to A, check for fire, and then I always forget if it's jump if 0 or not 0. No fire, and then we'll go out. Okay. Just see that I'll press. When I press fire, the border should change. Okay. Gotta take that bit off. Yep, that works. Good. So this checks if it's set, if the bit is set for the fire key, And if it is, then it changes the border, which means I can then now code it so that it changes the game mode instead. Cool. Well, I wouldn't consider that to be the Lunar Rescue font. I mean, I would consider that to be the Space Invaders font, or maybe the classic original Taito font, because it's used in what else is that one used in? It's used in Space Invaders and Lunar Rescue, and probably a few others. Like it's probably, I think is it used in Head On as well? I mean that's Sega, but I think Sega used very similar font. Some quite good versions of Head On in on the Spectrum. It's a very very simple game, but quite fun. And it also looks like it really looks like a Spectrum game. I don't know if you've played it, but no, that's a different font, isn't it? I'm just having a look. Ah, yeah, that's a real classic Sega font actually, like a really early one. Cool. Can't see it, I realise, but if you look up Head On Sega 1979. Anyway, getting distracted here. Quite like Head On. Right. Anyway, so fire button is in. So what we do now is we can load a, what are we going to do here? Change the game mode, right? So then we're going to have, I guess we're going to have a screen that just goes play player one or something, right? So, and then that'll be on the screen for like a certain amount of time. And then the game will start, right? So, okay. Not too hard to do, but I'm going to have a look at my earlier version that I wrote in AGD and see where we're at with that. Okay, so in this one I did have credits, as you can see. And you pressed space to put a credit in. It's kind of cool to do it, but anyway, push one play button, and then I don't know. I'm a bit tempted to do it, you know, to code that in, but okay. So that's what we need. Play player 1 or 2, but equals 50 points. Man equals 50 points. Okay, right. So we'll recreate that now then. Oh, also got to do that little, there's a routine there for the see those little red things at the top. I don't think I have done those, but I haven't put them back in, so I'm gonna have to put those back in. Don't know why that's disappeared, but okay, let me figure that out. First of all, I'm just gonna take this boot up routine, that little flashy thing at the beginning. We don't need it for now. I'll put it in when the game's finalized, but it's just slowing things down. So let me just fix that. Game initialization, wipe area, draw overlay, reset clocks. Okay. And then it goes straight to title data. Right, so this basically, the routine's probably there. I'm just not calling it anymore. There it is. Top char loop. I think. Ah, show intro text. And that's main. Right. Okay. So show, I really should relabel these. Because that one is being called at the beginning here. Let me just see. So when the game first boots up, yeah, so there's this thing here, call. This one should be call show intro text, I think. Yeah, because that will include that top bit. And then let's see. Hopefully that's back then. Let's go. Good, it's back. Okay, right. Well, most of the time, if you make a single mistake, I'm just being asked if it's scary. Well, if you're working on an original Spectrum, right, then a crash would mean a real nightmare, wouldn't it? Because you'd lose all your code. But I'm writing code on in Notepad++, so the code is completely separate. And because it's on an emulator, I can just change the code and load it in, right? And if it crashes, you know, it's just funny. Most of the time, you just laugh because you've made a mistake. Sometimes it just, you know, you think it's going to work, and you go, "Look at this," and it's like a big mess. And there's nothing else you can do but laugh. Really, it's not always funny because sometimes when you're trying to debug, it can be very frustrating. But there's it's a safety. It's a big safety net. You know, you're walking a tightrope, but you're never in any danger. So yeah, it's not scary. It's challenging and it's fun, but the reason I wanted to do this live really was to show people that you know, it's not magic. It's nothing massively scary. It's actually incredibly simple. The simplicity of it sometimes is what puts people off because you're working at this very kind of microscopic level. Every little tiny little thing you have to think of. It's like sewing a quilt or something, you know, like, you know, there's really fancy stitches that people do. So it is quite intricate, let's say. But when you get used to it, it's very, because it's so simple, it can be very kind of cathartic, you know, almost meditative in that sense. It's quite relaxing. You can just kind of chill out a bit and chat and make a few little tweaks here and there, and it's all good really. And I have got some videos, introduction to machine code, on my YouTube channel if you want to have a look at those. But yeah, I really enjoy it. I find it very relaxing, not stressful at all, really. Just debugging is the one that gets a bit stressful, but most of the time it's fun, you know. And because it's so much faster than BASIC, it's very satisfying when it does work. It's a much bigger payoff, you know. So anyway, that's back. So that's good. Now I just need to think. I'll explain this again for the benefit of people watching later down the line as well. So I'm using a simple, very common technique where you put the game into a certain state, right? And got various numbers here. Initially, when it boots up, it's at 255, and that's like reboot. That's reboot mode, right? And then it goes into this attract screen, attract loop here, and then I've got attract screen 2, but I don't actually need that one, so we don't need that. We don't need those 2 loops anymore. Not needed. Demo game loop. Well, we'll see. High score entry, setup, redefine keys, setup game, in-game loop. Yeah, so not sure really. I should I mark those up, or I suppose so. I mean, it doesn't really, the numbers don't matter that much, but I guess it should be fairly logical. This was just me speculating on things that I might need at the beginning, and turns out I don't always need them. So, but for example, in the game, you definitely have different modes, because you've got, if you know the game, presumably, you've got the mode when it's just the mothership like this, and the player's inside, and the only key that you can press is fire to release. Then you've got, when you press fire, then there would be the release animation, and then the ship would come down. That would be a game state, and then after that, then the player mode would kick in, and then you'd be able to control it and land. And then when you land, there'd be another game state where the player runs in, the rescued man runs in, gets in the ship, and then it would switch to the next game state, which would be the transition. And then after the transition, you fly back up, and then once you fly back up to the top of the screen, then there would be the you landed successfully animation, and then it would close, play the music, and then back to the original state. Right? So anyway, attract mode screen loop 1. So I'm going to put in here actually. So we've got here setup game. Yeah, okay, we'll leave it, we'll put it as 7 for now, that's okay. All right, so what this means here is that we're looking at this byte, and we're looking for one bit that's been set, which is the fire button. And if the fire button's been pressed, then we go player is player pressed fire. Tell them the game is about to start. Okay, so I need to wipe the area, and we're just going to wipe that bit. 16 get char screen address 1664, is that? This is a wipe area where I choose the columns and the height, and I'm just wondering if I've got a routine, like a default setting. I might have 12, 16. Okay, so I can do this. Okay. Okay, so this routine here, wipe area, you define the, as it says here, you define the columns in D and the pixel rows in E of which part of the screen, and you put the address in HL, right? So which part of the screen you want to wipe. You can wipe a little bit like the speech bubble, or you can wipe the entire screen, like the whole block, or you can wipe, if you look at the screen there in the window in the top right, then what are we going to wipe there? We're going to wipe it's about 26 columns across, and then the whole thing from Lunar Rescue right the way down to free play, right? And that'll be like a full wipe of the game play area. And what I'll do is if I I can set like a default setting here so that if I set it up here to be load HL 4032, right? That's the screen address 1 column down. And then load D with 26. I think. Yeah, 26 is all right. That's there. And then load E. How many pixels down? 192 minus 1 minus 8 is 184, I think. So in the other example, I'm wiping the screen, but I'm not wiping Taito, high rise, free play. That's staying there. But in this example, I'm setting it up like a default so that I might need to wipe that play space. You know, when the game, if you kind of die, or if you successfully land the spaceship or whatever, there's probably some kind of a wipe there that I can do. So by calling wipe play space here, it's going to drop into these values, and then it will run wipe area automatically. So we'll do that, and let's go to our play, press fire, tell them the game is about to start. Right, okay. First clear the play area. Okay. Now write play player 1. Where are we going to put that? Let's have a look. Well, obviously we need to create it first, but that's not too hard to do. So, where we're storing our text. All here, yeah. Press fire to play, redefine. Okay. Play player. And let's get I took a screenshot, so I got a reference. Play player 1. Don't think there's a space there. Now what I can do is I'll just set it up as that, and then if I want to, if it was player 2, when we get around to writing a 2-player mode, then I'll just overwrite that character with a 2 when I need to. Okay, so we'll do that, and then we'll say, right, I need a reference. What character is that little man? So we're going to have to load the character set editor. See, again, so this is running, but I can just jump into other save states or whatever, and because I don't need to save the game on the Spectrum because it's all in the code, you know. This is the character set that I'm using here, and there's the little man. Just a second, it's paused. Yeah, no problem, mate. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And, you know, you can always catch up later. Pop on. I might be on tomorrow. And we'll see. Always welcome. I don't know who else is watching, but if you are watching, feel free to say hello, you know. Right, so that little player is the jumping man there, right? And that is the backslash. Right, backslash? Probably. So play player one, and then we're going to write in here. I'm going to get the colors right as well. So probably have to redo the overlay after that, but that's okay. Well, we'll see if we'll see how it comes out. Play player one equals 50 points. Oh, and he's not jumping actually. So just referencing the original image. And it's that one there. So it's a full stop. So full stop. Equals 50 points. Okay. I don't think there's anything else to write at that point. I mean, that'd be it really. Probably, I mean, maybe you'd put the score in at that point if it's possible. I guess. Yeah, maybe. Anyway, that'll do for now. I'll test it out. See what the colours turn out like. So, terminate that. Terminated. Terminated. Okay. All right, play player one. 50 points, 255. Okay. So, I'm just going to play player. Now, I need to set the type. Standard print mode instead of the rolling text mode. Okay. Just want to remember. Okay. Now, do I need to loop it, or should I just put a delay in here? If I put a delay in, I won't need to have it as a game state, because it is literally just saying play player one. So there's no real need, and there's no need for it to do anything. So maybe I will just put a delay in. Yeah, maybe I will. Okay. Okay, so what we do, just use the same routine as before, but we're going to load HL with play player, which is the thing that says play player 1. Then we load text source address HL. Just thinking if we have 2 players, then we'd have a play player 2, and then that would be an actual separate routine. Okay, well, it's not. It's only going to be a small routine, so we'll leave it for now. What I'm thinking is I may just put all of this into a single routine that's then called from here when the player presses file. In fact, I probably will do that. Anyway, okay, set up the text source, load. Yep, okay, set the screen address there. And yeah, then it'll get the text screen address, which obviously I need to do now. So that routine is here, and we need to figure out where to put it. And it looks to me, let's see, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's say it's 10 and 1. Maybe 10, 7. 7, 10, I think, and 8, 12. That's the coordinates of where we want to print it. Okay, let's see what that looks like, if it works. Okay, and just going to freeze it there, right? So print the text, hopefully, and then just freeze the game at that point, so we can just see what it looks like. Okay. All right, so it's not quite what we had in mind, is it? I think I know what I've done there. Probably got the white plate. Oh, okay, white plate space. 40. What a doofus. That's 402 or 32. I'm writing it in binary. Writing it in decimal when it's hex. What a silly thing to do. And then thing is, if it takes more than the cycle time, which it might do, then I'm not sure if that animation is kicking in. That could cause a problem. Like, nope, that's okay, isn't it? We just have... Have I got something wrong with the... I think it's just the equal sign and the... Yeah. I think that's all it is. Otherwise, it's okay. So let me have a look. Okay. Ah, right. Okay, so I need to use the round brackets there because those have been set there, round brackets, and rats, I don't have an equal sign at all. What to do? What to do indeed. That's to show the player lives, and that's to show the man. I guess I don't... Oh, this is a frustration. How am I going to deal with that? I'm not sure. Well, I guess... I mean, the help could be separate, couldn't it? I guess so. It doesn't have to be in the character set. It makes it easier, though. So... Alright, I think I can sacrifice this little star, which is a little thing that appears on the screen in the game. It's like a hazard. But it only needs 3 bytes. It doesn't need 8 bytes anyway. So I guess we could sacrifice that for now. Yeah, okay. So that is the... Ironically, it's the actual square bracket anyway. Okay, so what the equals looks like. Well, let's have a look on here. Because this one has the original equals font there, right? So it is okay, so that's 1 to 8, so that's 64, 96, 96 plus 100, no, sorry, 64 plus 32 is 96, right? Plus 16 is 112, so it's 120. That byte there is 120 in decimal. So just I'm going to redefine it manually here. It's right just before the question mark. So I've got the question mark here. Okay, so I'm literally just going to hard code this. That's the question mark, and that's help. So, okay. Right, before I do that, I'm going to define the character. Not sure where I'm going to put it yet. I'm going to define it here. So it's going to be def b O 120 O 120 120 X. Let's see. Just for neatness sake, 78, huh? Okay, so there, 78 there. Okay. And it goes, I'm going with this. Just after help, right? So that's help there. So it's this one here. That's the equal sign. You know, I'm tempted to just to redo these so that the equals is just the equal sign. It kind of makes sense. Kind of got myself in a bit of a mess by doing this. But anyway, the equal sign is now going to be the... It doesn't really matter. I mean, it's... Once this is done, it's more or less done. So this one should be play player with a bracket, and that one should be a bracket like that, and then the equal sign is going to be that. Okay. Okay. My stomach's rumbling. I'm not actually hungry though, but anyway. Must be trying to tell me something. Okay, so that kicks in. Okay, and that looks good. That's right now, isn't it? That'll do. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't sit well with me that I'm having to, you know, the equal sign isn't the ASCII one, but these are things you live with. Right, short bathroom break. I'll be back in a second. Using headphones, right? Okay. So I guess what I'll do is I'll put that in a loop. We'll put that on a delay, and just have a little couple of seconds delay, and then clear it, and then we'll be ready to initialize the game. And I think I'll leave it there for tonight after I've done that. So just wanted to get to that point where it's just a bit of housekeeping really. So that's all done. So we go play player. Okay, player. Call main intro text, and then I'm just going to put a delay in here. So one simple way that you can do a delay is you can just write to the ROM, you know, it takes a nice bit of time. And so if we say how long, maybe, okay, we'll try that. So what I'm going to do there, put a delay, see how long it takes, see how I feel, and then make the border go blue when the timer is up, and then just freeze, and then I'll increase that timer. Let's see how we go. I'm not sure though if anything else is going to kick in now. I don't know if it will or not. I hope not. Don't think it will. That's fine. Oh, that's a no delay at all, is it? Okay. I mean, there are other things you can do with timers. Obviously, you can just put like a clock that just reduces 256. And then how many of those do you want to do? Let's see. That might be another way of doing it. Let's see. Yeah, that's nowhere near long enough. So let's do something different with that. We'll try something like this. Load BC20 and delay 1 DJNZ delay loop 1. So that's a loop of 256 for B. Deck C DJ JRNZ delay loop 1. 10, let's see, no, 20. I think we'll leave it at 20. We'll see. Put a comma in here. So what that's doing, creates a loop of 256 because B is 0, effectively, right? So this is C. That's now in hex, so that's 32. And B will be decremented until it gets back to 0 again. And when it does, it will decrement C. And if C has hit 0, then it will continue. But if it hasn't hit 0, it's going to go back to here. B has gone back to 0, so it's going to do the whole thing again. So it will do 256. It will do 16 lots of 256. And then I can just adjust how many of those, adjust C to how long a delay I want, like that. So that's another way of doing it. Probably a bit more orthodox, I would guess, I'd say. So let's try that. What have I done? Have I turned off the emulator? No. Okay, just a minute. Okay, it's back. Tap. Okay, that's super fast as well. Okay, we'll set them both to 0, and that will be a much longer delay. Well, I mean, it'll still probably be really quick. We'll see what happens. See how we feel about it. If not, I'm going to have to add a third value, which seems a little much, but anyway. So there we go. Surely not. What am I doing wrong there? This. That's very odd. Try it. It just seems to be going way too quickly. Okay. It's a long loop now, hopefully. Or have I just got the whole thing stuck? Let's see. Ah, yeah, that's doing huge loop. Should have put that in as like 5 or something. Right, let's see. Getting there now, aren't we? I'll have to look at the arcade game now and see if there's any effect going on there, you know. Is it flickering or something? Let's see. I think that's a good enough amount of time. Copy that again for now, just that. Let's see. That's the column in the row. Just to wipe that little bit of screen off, and then that will be when the game proper starts. We would draw the map. I guess that's probably what we'll do. Draw the map next. Okay, so yeah, that'll do. I think that time's all right. Yeah, then we'll draw the map. And that shouldn't be too tricky. That'd be the next thing to do then. Draw the map. I'll probably print the score as well, but won't worry about that for now. Yeah, okay. I think I'll leave it there. Apparently someone is watching, but they're not very chatty, so maybe next time you'll say hello. Who knows? Anyway, guys, that's it for tonight. Done a little bit more progress, and getting pretty close to getting the actual game proper, into the actual game proper. So that is good. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your day, whatever you're doing. And as always, happy coding. Take care.